The FIFA Men's World Cup is the sports tournament of 2026 and it's everywhere at the moment. But did you know the ball those 22 men are chasing after and kicking around was made in a country which plays cricket? And that Forward Sports, who made the balls for this year's World Cup, is worth $25 million? Or that football exports from Pakistan are to the tune of $220 million? All of this is in US dollars, by the way. Clearly, what is a beautiful game to some is huge business for others, and before we continue, I must say that I'll be referring to this game as football. Khawaja Masood Akhtar, founder of Forward Sports, didn't even start out as a football maker, but as a civil engineer. He has a degree in using maths and physics to solve problems relating to the design, construction and maintenance of buildings and roads. Soon after he started working in a well-paid job at Pakistan Railways, his uncle began to sell sporting goods and urged Khawaja to join him. So Khawaja signed up as a production manager in his uncle's company in Sialkot, the city they live in. In 1889, Pakistan was a British colony, and with Sialkot being a city on a state border, there was a British garrison there. One day, a British soldier asked a saddle maker to mend his football, and as the leather on the ball had completely dried out, the saddle maker made a new ball. The garrison was so pleased at not having to wait 8 months for a ball to arrive from Britain that they commissioned 6 more. By the First World War, when British factories were not allowed to make footballs, Sialkot was ready and able to step up. By 1982, Sialkot was providing the match balls for the FIFA Men's World Cup. FIFA is the acronym of the French La Fédération Internationale de Football Association, which in English is the International Association Football Federation. This is the world body which established and maintains the standard rules of football. FIFA ultimately based their rules on the Sheffield rules. Back when every English-speaking place had its own rules and balls for football, and football was played in mobs, the Sheffield rules kept players from the English city of Sheffield from killing each other during matches. As the centuries passed, the Sheffield rules made football a game where the ball could only be passed around with the head and the feet. This is why the game is called football in the United Kingdom, birthplace of the Sheffield rules. Since the ball could only be passed around with the head and the feet, it had to be round and filled with air so that it didn't injure a person's head and feet. The impact of this on the game is that the roundness affects the way the ball rolls about and moves in the air, and the air inside the ball makes it responsive and bouncy. Try kicking a deflated ball to see what I mean by responsive. A 2012 study from Loughborough University in the United Kingdom compared a 470-year-old football to a modern football and found that both consist of a sphere-shaped casing that is kept inflated by an airbag inside the casing. The biggest differences arise from the materials used to make the air-filled bag and casing and how the casing is put together. This 470-year-old football is the oldest football in the world. Found in a Scottish castle where Mary, Queen of Scots, lived as a child, it is half the size of a modern football. The 2012 study concluded that it was probably a toy for a game resembling hacky sack or keepy uppy. The casing was made from 4 leather panels of unknown origin stitched together with threads made from an unknown material and had an inflated pig's bladder placed inside. Apart from providing good quality footballs at a low cost, one reason for Sialkot's historic success was that since Muslims don't mind making products from cows, Muslims in Sialkot made the balls. Traders of other religions used their wide networks to transport the balls all over the British Empire and the Commonwealth. In Sialkot in 1889, Muslim saddle maker Fazal Ilahi used natural rubber to make bladders by opening up the footballs he was asked to fix and cutting the natural rubber bladders inside into patterns that he could then reuse. He also made the leather panels of his footballs softer. By doing this, he created balls that were elastic with a softness to them. The techniques which Fazal Ilahi used remained unchanged over the 20th century, and it took the average student 3 years or more to master them. When it came to the number of panels, the world's oldest football only had 4, but owing to the designs of Adidas, a German sports goods designer, maker and seller, footballs from the 1970s until the early noughties had 32 panels. These panels were arranged in a truncated icosahedron geometry in order to make footballs even rounder and to improve visibility during gameplay. This was good news for Sialkot's craftsmen, as 32 panels consisting of 20 hexagons and 12 pentagons offered them even more opportunities for hand stitching. With the low costs and established trade networks and logistics Sialkot already had, and because of the cooperative nature of small family-run businesses over there, Sialkot's leather craftsmen were able to come together to meet the challenge of producing even more footballs at a high quality, to the extent that by 1982 Sialkot was making the match balls for the FIFA World Cup. Being a football fan, Khawaja Masood Akhtar began using what he knew about engineering to think of improvements for making footballs. Khawaja's uncle suggested that Khawaja set up a new company, and he did so in 1991, starting out with 50 employees in a single room. Khawaja and Forward Sports soon found overseas customers, but they were based in the United States, a country mad about its own version of football, which is played with an oval ball that must be American-made. Business was sluggish. During that period, Forward Sports only had enough orders for 1,000 balls a month. But Khawaja and his colleagues persisted, and their luck changed in 1994 when Adidas commissioned them to make footballs. When Forward Sports began in 1991, they made balls using the traditional way of manufacturing, which was labour-intensive. Being commissioned by Adidas meant that they had to change their ways of working so that they could stick to labour laws worldwide, and so that their footballs could meet the established standards for the highest levels of tournaments in France, Germany and Europe. These standards were laid down by FIFA and cover, amongst other things, the size of a ball and how round and how heavy it is. Forward Sports found out that in order to meet FIFA's standards and fulfill Adidas's requirements, they had to move away from stitching by hand. One way of doing this is to use machine stitching, which is cheaper, but being adventurous, Forward Sports also went for thermobonding, a way of using heat to join plastics together. Thermobonding could eliminate the need for stitching entirely, and by 2007, Forward Sports had begun to use hand stitching, machine stitching, and thermobonding. Based on Adidas's requirements, Forward Sports had been using the plastics polyvinyl chloride, PVC, and polyurethane to create synthetic leather by coating a lining of either polyester or cotton with either polyurethane or PVC. Where there is no polyester or cotton lining, a natural rubber bladder would be fused to the plastic, but when the polyester or cotton lining is present, the bladder would either be made from butyl rubber alone or made from butyl rubber or carbon plus natural latex to form composites which are heavier than natural rubber. Such bladders are blown up through a silicon valve that runs from the plastic layer all the way through to the bladder. The hardness of these bladders is softened by the polyester or cotton lining, making a ball comfortable to play with. Compared to natural rubber bladders, butyl rubber bladders are able to retain air for much longer because their walls don't allow air to escape. Bladders made from composites are designed to retain air like butyl rubber bladders, but be elastic like natural rubber bladders. It's the bladder which gives players a choice nowadays. How often are they going to use a ball? Are they using the ball for practice or for matches? How much are they going to spend on a ball? As for the casing of the ball, it does matter if it's made of leather or PVC or polyurethane. The 2012 Loughborough study found that whenever the leather casing of the 470-year-old football got wet, it became heavier and couldn't move so well. Using plastic in place of leather gets rid of this problem entirely. Another advantage that plastic has over leather is that the smoothness and roughness of the surface of the ball can be adjusted and reproduced. It's the smoothness and roughness of the surface of a ball which determines how it travels through air. In 2010, a smooth thermo-bonded ball was used for the very first time in the Men's FIFA World Cup. Players complained that this ball moved randomly, whether on the ground or in the air, and that they couldn't aim it. Brazil striker Luiz Fabiano even called the ball supernatural. Faced with this barrage of criticism, Adidas had to go back to the drawing board for the ball for the 2014 World Cup and came up with a ball with 6 polyurethane panels which were rough to the touch. This surface made the ball much easier to control when it was kicked, and the ball was highly praised. Adidas approached its first choice supplier, but the demand for the 2014 ball was so high this supplier couldn't cope alone, so Adidas approached Forward Sports, who delivered spectacularly at short notice. The fact that Forward Sports was able to do this cemented their place in World Cup history. Their French, German and European experiences prepared them for this moment, and eventually they made 42 million balls for the 2014 World Cup, including the balls used in that tournament. Forward Sports would later repeat this winning formula and make the tournament balls for the 2018 and 2026 World Cups. From 2022 onwards, each World Cup match ball comes with a sensor built inside it to help with refereeing. In 2022, the ball was made in China and the sensor was in the middle of the ball. This year, with Forward Sports back as the maker of the ball and in accordance with Adidas's designs, the design of the ball has come full circle because, like the 470-year-old ball, this year's World Cup ball has 4 panels, but unlike the 470-year-old ball, this year's ball has panels made of polyurethane, with a sensor installed in one panel and the other 3 panels containing counterweights. Reaction to this year's ball has been mixed, with goalkeepers finding that the 4 panels and the long and deep thermo-bonded seams they form have made the ball much harder for them to catch. You can hear Danish goalkeeper Kasper Schmeichel shrugging with resignation when he says, "The thing about this ball is that we want to see goals, so they build balls to score goals." Perhaps the 470-year-old ball had 4 panels for the same reason, but we shall never know. By following the requirements of their client to a T, Forward Sports were able to deliver yet again. By making sure that they fulfilled Adidas's requirements and met FIFA's standards, Forward Sports got a lot of good publicity and marketing from Adidas and football players who are international mega brands themselves. This has allowed Forward Sports to price their balls at higher prices so that they do not compete with and crowd out the other football makers in Sialkot, especially those who still make footballs by hand, who remain the suppliers for supermarkets, schools and youth clubs. Forward Sports invested into the research and development of more than one manufacturing method, and as a result they are now able to produce 50,000 to 75,000 footballs in a day, which is far higher than the 1,000 balls a month they started with in 1994, allowing them to meet client demand. After the First World War, the Pakistani city of Sialkot continued to supply footballs, and nowadays 70% of the world's footballs are made there, bringing in $220 million for Pakistan and accounting for half of Pakistan's sports goods exports. Forward Sports is valued at around $25 million, which is around a tenth of that figure. Considering that they have succeeded in ensuring their place and Sialkot's place in footballing history in the face of quite a lot of difficulty, not least the non-existence of football in Pakistan, this is an amazing achievement, and given their drive to do well, it will be very interesting to see how they will embody new changes to football designs and how these changes will improve the beautiful game. For more inspiring stories, actual business insights, hit that subscribe button and subscribe to Mobile Miscellany. Thanks for listening and see you in the next video.